20 years to set up stable institutions? It took longer than 20 years in Korea. That's how you're saying it's going to take just as long as Korea, right? Is that what happened in Korea? No, Korea was a ruthless military dictatorship, and then they democratized conveniently around the time of globalization. You're trying to compare it to fucking Korea? Thank you, Red Rising. You're trying to fucking compare it to Korea? What a fucking cope. Afghanistan will become just like Korea, right? What? South Korea never had a Taliban. South Korea didn't have a Taliban, though. South Korea's government, at the very least, was based in some kind of indigenous Korean whatever. Yes, Korea was unstable. No, it wasn't unstable. It was a fucking military dictatorship. It was very stable, though. It wasn't unstable. There wasn't fucking Taliban threatening the government. It was a stable military dictatorship. It was a shithole, yeah, but it was still stable. In what meaningful sense was it unstable? Convert or die to Christianity for all Afghans. Go fucking LARP more, dumbass. What a dumb thing to say. Just like how Islam spread. If you think that's how Islam spread, you're dumb as fuck. South Korea did have North Korean insurgents that caused problems for decades. Yeah, but they were nothing like the Taliban. Nothing. Nothing like the Taliban. That was just some tiny little marginal shit. And no, they didn't cause fucking instability. The threat of invasion never went away. It still hasn't gone away. The U.S. is still there. The U.S. still has a base in South Korea. If the U.S. left, North Korea would have invaded, same as the Taliban today. What's your point? What's your fucking point? It has nothing to do with institution building. That was because of global economics. South Korea's institutions you're talking about were fully created by the American Bretton Woods system and the global economic system that took off in the 70s. The USD is collapsing, though. That is gone. There's nothing like that anymore. How the fuck is Afghanistan going to have an economic miracle that's going to allow it to have the institutions? It's a great thing that the U.S. maintains a presence in South Korea because South Korea is better off because of it. Okay, I don't care that you think that, though. I don't care that you think that, though. The U.S. exited Bretton Woods system in the 70s, you dumb fuck. Yeah, you dumb fuck. They exited it after they created the very premises for fucking indigenous South Korean industries to thrive. Dumbass. That was my fucking point. Guess when the South Korean economic miracle took off? The exact same time they floated the fucking dollar and got rid of the gold standard. That U.S. global... And by the way, the global U.S. monetary system was preserved. They just shifted to the petrodollar. So no, it didn't just fucking disappear. But yeah, at the same time that they floated the dollar, everything was already created and set, and the conditions for South Korean, Japanese, and German industry to take flight was already fucking set. You don't know what you're fucking talking about. Dumb lib shit. Oh, it's just going to be just like South Korea, and eventually they're going to... No, it's not going to be just like South Korea. It's not. 20 years is not enough. Why? Why isn't it? And by the way, 20 years is enough. Do you know math? No, do you know math? The South Korean economy didn't take off until the 80s. Yeah, but during the 70s, that's when the reforms were instituted that created the premises for the 80s takeoff. The reforms that happened in the 70s are the independent institutions you're talking about, by the way. So let me ask you a question. 20 years from the end of the Korean War. When did the Korean War end? Go ahead. When did the Korean War end? 53. Good. So what's 1953 plus 20? What's 1953 plus 20? 1953 plus 20. What is that? $73. Their economy was in the shitter. But guess what? They were rising. Is Afghanistan in a similar state that South Korea was in 73? No, they weren't. Okay, I want you to look up Miracle on the Han River and see where it started. See where it started. See where it started. It started in 61, and it literally started to take off after 72. After 72. And South Korea started to exponentially take off right after 72, literally 20 years after. You think that's... So Afghanistan today is just like how South Korea was in 73, right? But the data doesn't support that claim. Afghanistan's the same as it was before the U.S. as far as the fucking ability for the Taliban to take over is concerned. And by the way, the U.S. never left Korea. The U.S. didn't even ever leave Korea. So you're basically saying you want the U.S. to stay in Afghanistan forever. I just looked up the Korean GDP. It doesn't start taking off after the 80s. No. I'll show you the graph right now since you're illiterate. Here you go. Okay. I want you to understand something, right? So what you're talking about is here. You're talking about this, right? This is the democratic reforms that were only made possible by shit that was stuff that was going on here, right? This is where shit started to take off. Here's 72. Look, starts to take off. Okay? There's a recession here, right? But even this is still way more than this. So no, this is not the same. This is when it started to take off and rise. Can you fucking read graphs? Can you read graphs? Yeah, I get it. They grew more in the 80s, but this is when it started. That's graph of GNI, not GDP. I think you're right. Okay, GDP will be the same shit. GDP will be the same shit. And why does it make a difference? Why does it make a difference?
Hey guys, it's Billie. I am here to let you know that the Billie Eilish Takeover is live.